Hey everyone, I hope y'all are having a great day. I feel like normally I talk about things that nobody cares about and people are probably like, we didn't ask for this. But this video is actually something I've been asked to make, so here we are. I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the To All the Boys I've Loved Before Netflix movie adaptation. It just dropped last Friday, August 17th, and did I watch it the day it came out? Of course I did. That was a good historic weekend for Asian Americans, honestly. Like Crazy Rich Asians and To All the Boys I Loved Before came out the same week, and both have been getting really good reviews, really great media coverage, and I am here for it. So, I watched To All the Boys I've Loved Before on Friday, and I got 15 minutes into it, and I texted my friend, and I was like, I feel like I'm not gonna be into this. I thought the script was kind of awkward, and I thought the camera angles felt very claustrophobic, and I was like, ooh, I'm kind of scared that I'm not gonna be a fan of this. But luckily I was wrong. By the end of the movie, I was so charmed. This movie was really charming. Like, that should be the title of this video, was charming, because I feel like that word really encaptures exactly what this movie was. And I think a lot of the charm has to do with Lana Condor as Lara Jean. Lana is so cute, and I think she creates such a likable, relatable Lara Jean. And honestly, I'd go as far as saying that I think her interpretation of Lara Jean is what drives the entire movie. Noah Centineo's performance as Peter was cute as well. I know I'm gonna step on like so many toes by saying this, but I was never super sold on him. But I honestly don't think that's a Noah Centineo problem. I think that's a me and Peter Kavinsky problem. If you've seen any of my To All the Boys I've Loved Before related videos, you know that I'm not a big fan of Peter Kavinsky. So I feel like it's definitely very possible that Noah was great in this role as Peter, but it's just that my dislike for Peter is getting in the way. That being said, movie Peter was definitely a lot more likable than book Peter, and I think I'm going to talk about that later. So something that I realized while watching this film is that consuming this story in a movie version made me aware of so many cliches. Granted, the book does have some cliches, but I feel like when you're reading it, you get to see so much more development, you get to see how well integrated those cliches are into the originality of the story, whereas in the movie, because movies are just naturally condensed versions of the story, I became more aware of the collection of dismembered stereotypes, like this unoriginal, plain, catty, mean girl with like no other personality than just to be a mean person. Or this supposed best friend, like the main character only has one best friend, but then the best friend is honestly hardly even there. And then there's a gay character who naturally becomes the main character's confidant. Like in the book, these things are not really issues, but they become so glaring when I watch the movie version of it. Like in the book, Lara Jean and Josh spend lots of time together, whereas in the movie, you only get to see Lara Jean and Josh interact if it's meant to rile up jealousy in Peter. And I feel like in the movie it felt very one-sided, where you get to see so much of Peter developing his devotion to Lara Jean, but you don't really see Lara Jean start to reciprocate that. In the book, my main problem with Peter was that he continuously prioritized Genevieve over Lara Jean and would always make excuses about why he was always hanging out with her, why he was still attached to her. And I feel like in the movie we got an improvement on his character because we do get to see his gradually developing devotion to Lara Jean. And albeit I do think that his attachment to her developed relatively quickly, I still preferred that to what we got in the book. Okay, I know I sound super anal by like complaining about all these things. So the complaining part is basically over. The thing is, obviously a movie is not going to contain everything that's in a book. So really, as a film, To All the Boys is a good movie. It's super cute and charming. The actors are great and believable in their roles. The way it's shot is so fun. It really has this indie teenager coming of story vibe. As the movie went on, I really loved the aesthetic of the movie, especially the color palette. The color palette I thought was really gorgeous. It was a lot of like teals and blues and green. That is a departure from the books, which are more like whites and pastels, but I still thought it was aesthetically a beautiful movie. And of course I thought it was a beautiful movie because the cast is beautiful. I loved Jenny Han's cameo as the dance chaperone when we're flashing back to how Lara Jean first developed her crush on Lucas at homecoming. Jenny looked so happy to be there. I was dying. Lara Jean, like I said before, is I think what makes the movie so great. She is so funny and awkward and cute in all the right moments and in all the right proportion. It's so easy to just slip into her shoes and feel like you're there in the moment with her. And I think it's so interesting that Lara Jean is a character who loves to live like in this fantasy, but then for her, her fantasy kind of comes true. And I feel like we're kind of doing the same thing by watching this movie, you know, or why we watch rom-coms in general. It's like we like living vicariously through other characters, other people, you know, and we feel like the fluttery moments attachments, and I just thought that was kind of fun to realize, because honestly, if I were to send out my love letters, the only thing I'd get back is like a restraining order. I think Lana Condor is an excellent Lara Jean. She's not the book Lara Jean. I think book Lara Jean has an entirely different vibe, a different aesthetic, a different tone. She has like a very old-timey feel. Like, she'll say things like, I wonder what it's like to have that much power over a boy. I don't think I'd want it. It's a lot of responsibility to hold a person's heart in your hands. Whereas movie Lara Jean says things like, you really like yogurt? They're both fabulous characters and I love each of them, just in different ways, so I can't really say that I prefer one over the other. I think Janelle Parrish and Anna Cathcart did a great job as their roles as Margot and Kitty. Kitty was definitely a lot more tolerable in the movie than in the book, although I feel like I did miss seeing the attachment that Kitty developed to Peter. I also will say that I did not really enjoy the actor who played the father. Like, for some reason, just something about him was not right for me. He never was quite serious enough. I don't know, I just like I wasn't vibing. Overall, this film was so cute. It really does the book a lot of justice, although of course I rarely would ever prefer a film to a movie. There's just so much endearment and charm in this adaptation. And it has some hilarious moments, and then it also has so many moments that just melt your poor little heart. I think Netflix I think is just the distributor, so like the production company, the filmmakers, you know, I think they did such a good job with making this adaptation. Like, if this were my novel that were being adapted, I'd feel really proud. And I think that's the new standard that I want to go by, especially after seeing the train wreck that was the Darkest Minds movie, is if I were to write a book and it were to be adapted into a movie, would I feel proud about this being my adaptation? Like, would I feel proud having my name attached to this? And in this case, I would definitely say yes. Before I go, how could I not talk about the ending? John Ambrose McLaren. After the trailers dropped, I know people were thinking that John Ambrose McLaren might be the very end of the movie, like a cliffhanger, and that's exactly what it was. John Ambrose McLaren showed up with a flower bouquet and the love letter that Lara Jean had written him, and then it ended. I would love a sequel, because I would love to see John Ambrose McLaren. I don't know if it's like Netflix's responsibility to come with a sequel, but like, yo, someone needs to make it happen. So those are my thoughts on To All the Boys I've Loved Before, the Netflix movie adaptation. It was a sweet, charming movie. Something that's so important to me is that To All the Boys I've Loved Before is getting so much hype. People I know in real life, not through BookTube or the internet or anything, people who aren't book people still know about this movie and are talking about it. Every time I come on YouTube, I see a new dozen videos about this movie. And every time I check Twitter, I see a million new Peter Kavinsky memes. And like, maybe my portion of sight is limited by social media algorithms and the idea of what is a social media echo chamber. So maybe in my mind, I have this over-amplified sense of the hype around To All the Boys. But if with all this attention that it seems to be getting, if even just one Asian teenage girl feels more empowered or more desirable or more normalized in feeling like she has her own story to tell, I think that's worth everything. So those are my thoughts. I am very happy with this adaptation. I'm sure Jenny Han is thrilled. I'd love to know what you think. Please let me know what your thoughts are on this movie. Did you watch this movie having read the books or no? Please let me know. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll have a fantastic day and happy reading. Bye.